Welcome back to the Totum Podcast. Today we're very excited to have two amazing guests with us. Co-authors of a book called Superaging, Larry Wolf and David Cravit. Welcome to the podcast. And Larry, we know that you've been a longtime Totum client, so thank you for supporting us for so long. And you're also the founder of the Wolf Group, which is an international company focused on marketing and branding. And David, you're not only co-author of this book, but another book, other books as well. We can get into that. But your previous life was focused on media advertising. You're expert in that area. So welcome to the Totum Podcast, and we're excited to talk about Superaging, your book.
Thank you for having us.
So tell me, we're all very interested in this idea of aging. And now you two have taken the time to put it all together into this book. And I love the title. I think it's just a fantastic title because there's, you've worked in the media before. And for so many years, we heard this concept of anti-aging and basically thinking about aging in a way as something we want to avoid.
Right.
And we know it's unavoidable or something we want to hide. And when I first saw the title of your book, Superaging, I thought that's fantastic because now we've joined the word super to aging, and it's something that we should all be thinking about. Tell me what superaging means to you.
Well, we started out with contrasting it to, as you said, aging, if you will, but we called it default aging. So the model we all grew up with, our parents and grandparents, was you aged, you were a teenager, young adult, middle-aged age, and at 65 you're retired. And once you're retired, you basically were playing defense for the rest of your life. The best you could do would be to grab another 10, 12 years, God willing, free from pain and suffering, but that was about it. That was the best you were going to do, and then the end came, and hopefully it was a gentle glide path. Certainly no time to do anything new and different. Then we realized, well, it actually started with, do I need to do that way? And I wrote, my first book was called The New Old, which was the baby boomers, of which I'm a generative baby boomer. I said, well, I don't want to age that way. I don't want to consider myself old at that age. I don't want to age the way my grandparents did. I love the spotlight. It's the me generation. Why should I get off stage just because I'm 65? So even without longevity, the boomers were trying to upset these stereotypes. Okay, but now along comes longevity. And at 65, you can look forward to 20 or 30 years.
Yes.
So now you can play offense. You can say, wait a minute, this isn't just a matter of warding off disease and illness, although that's vitally important. It's not just a matter of surviving. It's a matter of, can I actually thrive? Can I do something positive? Can I learn? Can I grow? Can I develop? Can this become a exciting time of life rather than just a freedom from negative time of life? And that's what superaging, that's the difference.
You've moved the bar.
Move the bar.
And how did the two of you get together with this idea?
Well, David and I had worked together actually 50 years ago. David, I think, was the first writer in our fledgling Toronto office, which was our second office. We started out in Buffalo, New York, of all places, so we had known each other over the years. And I had the idea of positively branding aging, superaging, and then David came up with this brilliant subtitle, How to Get Older Without Getting Old. And as we researched the category, we found, there are a lot of very good books about, diet, exercise, positive lifestyle, and whatnot. But we thought living well and enjoying your later years was a lot more than that. And we thought there was a real opportunity to go beyond the traditional books and amplify all the 7 essentials, really the things that contribute not only to longevity, but to a great quality of life.
That's great. And I know you refer to them as the 7 A's of aging. Can you describe them for us?
Yes, the overriding the most critical of the 7 A's is attitude. And I think, Stacy, you wrote a wonderful book about listen to your best instincts, which
I did. Thank you.
Really just amplifies that in a lot of detail. Because there's all kinds of scientific research that shows that people who have a positive rather than negative attitude not only live a happier life, but they live a much longer life. So a big connection between attitude and longevity. And we thought this was so critical. How can we not only explain the importance and give people the basic science, but how could we give them a very simple, practical methodology and make it easy for them to apply it to their own lives? So hence, attitude, which really umbrellas everything else. The second day, awareness. There's just so much going on in the world with medical research, AI, robotic technology. So, David came up with this great line, the home is the hospital of the future. So it's really critical to know what's going on. And as you age, everyone has medical issues of some sort. And in every area you can think of, there's just incredible research going on. So you really want to be aware of new developments.
Excuse me, just to put it
on,
just on awareness. So what we were saying in our book is you can't just say, okay, somehow in my normal daily reading of the newspaper or the TV, the headlines will seep in. We're saying there's so much going on that you need actually start to systematize your acquisition of this knowledge. You need to have a plan for how am I going to navigate this onslaught of videos on YouTube and websites and articles and journals I read, journals I never would have heard of if I hadn't gone out, to get it. And we've got a very simple, it's not complicated, but we do think you should have an actual organized plan to say part of my time I'm going to spend bringing in the latest information so I can be equipped to take advantage.
So it's not just random.
It's not just somehow.
It's not passive learning.
No, it's active.
It's active learning.
Active learning.
Maybe the Totum podcast is going to be on your list.
Oh, it will be.
Absolutely.
But that's exactly right. Whether it's setting up Google Alerts, we've got a little simple system in the book. It's not intricate because it has to be
workable. It has to be simple.
But what we're saying is to be a superager means a quantum leap in the amount of information you are receiving. It needs to be filtered, yes. It needs to be organized, yes. Can't be inundated, okay. But it can't just be whatever I hear in the background. You got to go out and get it. And so that's why it was the second A was I really need to be aware of stuff because there's stuff that can do me a lot of good.
Yeah, I like that thinking.
Yeah.
And anyways, the third A is activity, and that covers
speaking our language.
Right, all the wonderful stuff you guys do. I mean, all the wonderful ways to stay fit. All the reasons why I go to Totum at least twice a week to do my Pilates. So fitness so important, and you guys cover that so well. The other traditional stuff, diet, and beyond that, taking charge of your own health care, not relying, as people have traditionally, just the information from your GP, not being a passive, really consumer of medical advice, but proactively taking charge of your own medical care. And you not only need to be active physically, but you need to be active mentally. You need to continually challenge yourself mentally to learn new things, to do new things. So mental and physical activity, absolutely critical. Next, accomplishment so critical to keep working. There's a wonderful article we have on our website about a 100-year-old doctor who, believe it or not, is still practicing. And what he says, quote, is retirement is the enemy of longevity.
Agreed.
And it's absolutely true. You have to work at something, if not your profession, at an avocation, a new profession, volunteering for something, but you have to keep working, and it will enhance your quality of life, and you'll not only live a happier life, you'll live a lot longer.
It's purpose, right? Like if you're working at something, whether it's a passion, hobby, doesn't really matter. It's just, it fills the purpose, and which is super important.
I'm glad you said that word, because I had the privilege of knowing very briefly and toward the end of her life through my media work, Hazel McCallion.
Oh, yeah,
and
amazing.
when asked what, because all 100-year-olds get asked the routine, what's the secret of it? But she used that was her word. She says every morning when I get up, I've got stuff I want to do.
Amazing.
I just have stuff I want to do now. In her case, if it was large scale stuff or small scale,
Sure.
I have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And she said that was the most important thing. We
just finished watching the Arnold Schwarzenegger 3-part series, and obviously, to me, he's an extreme of this super aging idea.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Not just because of what he's accomplished in his life, which is totally remarkable.
Sure.
We can all admire that from a physical standpoint where he started, and then to a media standpoint, to become a leading man and to have a brand that he has his own brand of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anytime he attaches himself to anything, it's a positive. He said exactly this same thing. So he's 75 now, and I don't know if you've seen his place. It's adorable. He has all these little animals. He's got small horses and donkeys and all these things. And he said, I need to have the purpose in the day to get up, and he said it's less obviously than what I used to do. I don't have to be up at 6 a.m., but I get up, I look after my animals, I feed them, that brings me joy. And then he said, there's no way you're going to age well if you're not contributing.
Yes.
He said,
Yes.
I can't live my life without contributing to the world around me. What am I giving it? And I loved that. And I think what you two are talking about is very interesting. There's a lot of talk right now about the third act.
Oh, yes.
Right.
And I think that you are challenging us to define it a little bit better and giving us the tools to say, don't hit 65 and be like, oh, there we go, I'm done, right? Instead, what is it outlined as? What things are going to inspire you? And that is an interesting thing.
I'll throw another emerging buzzword or buzz phrase at you in the area of employment and working, and it's just starting. It's called the career portfolio. So instead of a linear resume, I've got a portfolio. I did this, and I did this, and I did this. And how rich is your portfolio?
Interesting.
Now, it's true that the portfolio may unfold in a linear way. You're not going to be simultaneously a doctor and a lawyer and an accountant in the same year. But if you look at a longer runway, which is, of course, what superaging is at the basis, is the much longer run. I could do this, and I could go into this, and I could branch off into this, and I could do, within, it could be radical change, it could be logical, if I was this, then the next logical adjacency. But I love the phrase career portfolio because it suggests that maybe it's the enrichment, it's the layers of it, and not just the linear sequence.
Well, even just thinking about that as an employer, that's much more interesting. Like when we're interviewing somebody, don't just check the boxes of can you do these rote tasks. Like what have you actually done and brought to the previous organizations you worked at, or what education?
Different points of view, different perspectives.
And a pathway that could be going in many different
But it all goes
directions.
back to I've got the time now.
Yes.
I've got the years are potentially
Yes.
available to me to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
To look at that opportunity, to go down that path. It doesn't need to be linear and, where's my gold watch at 65 and where's my rocking chair, which is the old model.
It is, and I'm sure you both are very aware of this, it's probably in the book as well, is that with that old model, we used to have the statistics because we are very big science geeks, but the sad one to me was always that you'd hit retirement and people would die a couple years later of a heart attack or a stroke or something like that. And we didn't talk about depression and mental health as much, way back in those years. But I would guarantee you that that would be a big part of it too, especially if you had a job that was kind of 9 to 5, and then now you sit at home and they'd say, get a hobby. That's not
Well,
really...
did you see the study? We're digressing a bit. You can edit this part out. But it was interesting for me. There was a study done in St. Catharines with retired General Motors workers.
Right.
So it's a big GM plant.
Yeah.
These are unionized guys.
Yeah.
Good pensions. So nobody was, wait a minute, I don't have any money in my retirement. They were doing well. And counting down the hours to be able to get out on the golf course and not have to go into the plant anymore. I'm not saying that the plant was a horror show, but it was just eager to retire, well looked after in their retirement, and the health problems and mortality rate, exactly to your point, 2 years after. So the first 6 months is great. I'm on the golf course, the whistle isn't blowing, the bell isn't ringing.
Yes.
Then what?
Yeah. What's the purpose?
Then what? And I had an opportunity to give a presentation to retired nurses. Through the nursing organization, invited me to be a speaker. And these were people, again, in blue chip pension plans. They were going to be fine. A lot of them had even taken early retirement. They couldn't wait because it's a hard job, long shifts. And you know how many of them said, I was defined by that white coat.
Yeah.
Who am I now?
Yeah.
I'm not the nurse on the ward anymore.
It's incredible.
Who am I? And
Yeah.
it was this sense of disorientation, which led to depression. Depression leads to health problems.
It's such an
So
important.
You're exactly
it's an
right.
important conversation.
Very important conversation.
Professional athletes, I think we see that, and that could be, the biggest extreme, right? Because they retire very early, and they go from a career that is the career.
Right.
Of course.
And they're very wealthy when they retire. They don't have to work, but then they've lost that purpose, and they're probably some of the most driven human beings you would ever come across. And we see that, we see the downside to that. Okay, what are we at? We're at the fourth A?
Yeah, we finished it. We got accomplishment.
Okay.
So 3 more A's.
The next A, attachment. Relationships are so critical. They're so nurturing. It really is I think as much as anything.